So we talked a lot about today on technologies and how this is now transforming the industry. And now we shift the focus a bit on how these new technologies also change us as a society. But not only here in Germany or in Europe, but all over the world. And I would now like to introduce a speaker to you who is the managing director from Endeavor in Italy. His name is Raffaele Mauro. Raffaele is going to take a quite, I would say, theoretical look on this whole topic right now. He holds an MPA from Harvard University and also a PhD from Bocconi. Previously, he was the head of finance for innovation and entrepreneurship at Intesa in São Paulo in Torino. And I'm now really looking forward on seeing how all these new technologies also could help startups and new ideas in emerging markets. Please welcome on stage Raffaele Mauro.
Hello. Hi everyone, I'm very glad to be in this conference. It's an exciting meeting and glad to be here. So at Endeavor, we are helping entrepreneurs to grow and scale across the world, making them accessing in an easy way capital, talent and markets in several countries. I will speak today about the relation between fintech and financial inclusion. I will start from a far place and then go into the deep level of what is happening now in terms of startup and investments. Everyone in this room knows the impact of the internet. The impact of the internet was huge in our lives and way of working during the last decades, and there were at least three main drivers. The three drivers were digitalization, disintermediation, and decentralization. We had basically three waves across time that were the 3Ds impacted different industries. And we can model this phase in at least three steps. The first step happened basically 15 years ago for digital content. Then there was 10 years ago, started the physical goods started to be disintermediated and decentralized. And now we are experiencing the financial technology disintermediation. Let's say, in a very quick way, the first wave basically disrupted the business models in publishing and music. So stable business models for decades and centuries were in the space of few years changed, and still now they are changing. This is very interesting, and publishing platforms, peer-to-peer technology had a huge impact. Then there was the second wave, so physical, durable physical goods, and the disruption of housing and transportation industry. And now we're looking at the financial industry. So why this is very interesting? Because decentralization technology and disintermediation technologies basically hit the core of financial services industry. That's because financial institutions, they are basically gatekeepers for capital and trust. And the new wave of technologies from peer-to-peer technology to blockchain are changing this in a deeper way. And why this is important for financial inclusion? I will start with presenting a couple of information about that. So according to the World Bank, the Global Fin Index report, there are now 2 billion adults across the world that are basically not accessing in a very advanced way financial services. The glass is half empty, but also half full, because the situation is improving. We are seeing now basically an improvement of 20%, so a reduction in 20% of the unbanked population, and the trend line is going in a positive direction. Another significant element is the leapfrogging effect. So in several countries, people start to access financial services directly on mobile platforms, rather to traditional bank branches or traditional web platforms. And basically, some of the daily operations, such as savings, credit, insurance, payments, and so on, are switched to the mobile-first platforms. And why? How can we relate this with the 3Ds of digitalization, disintermediation, and decentralization? In terms of digitalization, there was the strongest until now effect. So, for instance, we know there are several companies, startups with sometimes with huge traction. So maybe probably everyone in this room will know probably M-Pesa for mobile payments in Africa, or and now across the world. Alipay with obscene numbers. They have 20, 50, 100 million monthly active users. $520 billion of volume in 2014. So this is huge, huge numbers, and this is growing. But the interesting part is that basically in each country, according to the different regulations, there are now very interesting companies that are providing mobile first, mobile banking and payment services. This is growing, and in terms of venture capital investing, it is a very interesting area. There are both very major projects. For instance, Kiva is a 10-year-old project. Kiva is a non-profit organization that is connecting low-income entrepreneurs and students with people in the developed countries, and basically multiplying the effect of microfinance institutions locally and providing microloans. This is very interesting. But we're looking to very disruptive new models. For instance, there is Kiwi in Mexico. So Kiwi is expanding the buyer's potential, and they help people to have prepaid payment plans without the loan component, so without interest. So basically helping people to make long run, to buy physical, durable goods for the long run without huge interest. And another very interesting company is DoPay. They basically help the unbanked to access financial services for being paid. So most of the unbanked people receive payments just in cash, and they help them to access ATMs and having simple accounts and so on. But this is just the beginning. The second is disintermediation. This is happening in a deeper way. Disintermediation, there are a couple of examples which are very interesting for me. There is BitPesa. BitPesa, as the name states, is like M-Pesa, but through the Bitcoin intermediation. So basically, they help people to send remittances and cross-border payments at a very low cost, without all the intermediate steps that are traditionally associated with remittances. And they are operating now in 4 countries. They are not perfect. There are some challenges for this model, but it's very, very interesting as a trend line and as a tool to analyze. Second example is from my own country, Sardex. So Sardex was born in Sardinia. Sardinia is this island in Italy. Sardinia was hit in a huge way by the economic crisis. So basically, small and medium businesses had a terrible credit shrinking. Basically, liquidity was very scarce. And so they created this network of commercial credit associated with a digital token. So if you go in the Sardex network, maybe you can sell your services and goods in exchange for the token. And then within the network, even without traditional liquidity, you can put productive companies and people at work even when there is not liquidity. This is very interesting also because it's a venture-baked startup. They are growing in a very fast way. They are expanding in different regions and now expanding also across the world. So Sardex is a very cool case in my opinion. Third D, which is the biggest one and the deeper one, is decentralization. This is hitting the core, the core logic of financial services. Before, a few minutes ago, we had the discussion about peer-to-peer networks and the blockchain. In my opinion, this is probably one of the most important fintech technologies today and for the future. We can now decentralize in a radical way contracts, payments, and every kind of trust-based interaction. We saw the Bitcoin and the generative power of the Bitcoin. We saw the potential to generate packet sidechains that in non-technical language means generating contract and services on the top of the Bitcoin blockchain. We had also a presentation these days of Ethereum. Ethereum is an amazing project. They enable to basically generate decentralized applications in a very easy way. They have they truly have a great potential. And I will make an example related to financial inclusion. There is a BitNation. So BitNation as a project for the refugees. They created an emergency ID for the refugees. As you know, the blockchain is a public ledger which cannot be changed. Is a trustable public ledger. And basically, they are helping people to have a temporary ID based on the family ties verification. So it's not an official ID, obviously, but it's based on the blockchain. And they also are trying to couple this with the small Bitcoin debit cards in order to provide simple forms of financial inclusions. So this project is not perfect, it's embryonic, does not comply with all the regulations, but it's very interesting, it can provide real value, and as a trend line can truly change the world. So thank you for your attention, and write me if you have any question. Thank you.
Thank you, Raffaele. So, would you say that all these technologies increase the wealth then of emerging countries?
So I think that they play a role in terms of systemic effects. They can, for sure, increase opportunities for both companies and individuals, and therefore there will be a systemic effect of economic growth. Obviously we know that in networks there are also Pareto dynamics or network effects where the central points get more stronger over time. So the dynamic is controversial, but I think that over time this is the democratization effect and the growth creation effect will be stronger. So.
As you with Endeavor also provide knowledge for startups in all these regions that you were talking about, what do you think is most helpful for these people when you approach them?
Okay, the most important part is to be connected to global networks. So because often local markets are too small, access to capital in local markets is often terrible. So being connected in a deeper way with investors, mentors, advisors from all over the world is one of the key elements.
And how can you help them with Endeavor then?
Yeah, so basically with Endeavor, we help them in 3 ways: with indirect fundraising support, direct fundraising, and help for international expansion. Endeavor has an investor network which is placed in 30 countries. They meet 5 times per year in different continents. We have fund, San Francisco-based fund called Catalyst, which co-invests with other lead investors across the world. And there is also every local Endeavor office help local companies for their scale-up phase. So if one Endeavor company from Italy needs to expand in Spain, I will call Endeavor Spain or my team, and they will hit the market, hit the ground in a quick way and with a good endorsement.
So Endeavor is a not-for-profit organization. How could the people here in the room support you with your work?
So there are, I think in this room there is an amazing level of talent. Everything that we do for companies is done with a network of mentors, top of their field. So, and we are operating also with the big financial institutions, and it will be very helpful if some of the companies that are in the Endeavor network will be supported pro bono, maybe with few hours of mentoring from someone in this room. It will be very useful.
Thank you, Raffaele.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.